So now let's talk about Netflix, right? And the crazy weekend they've had, right? Or I should say the crazy 2 days, right? Prior to us meeting up here online, right? So I was reminded, thanks Ricardo in advance, of the final season of Dear White People, which is a show that we've been covering from since season one, premiered in 2017, right? Um, Ricardo, if you don't mind, just giving us a brief summary of, of this final season here. But before we begin, though, I would say though that yes, this like I said before, this has been a show that we've been covering since it came out, right? And reason being is because it's based off of a movie of the same name, which I actually like really enjoyed. Though,
Yeah.
this was one of my first
Justin
introductions to
Justin Simeon.
Justin Simeon. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
this was my official introduction to McGill, Tessa Thompson, for
Hmm.
one thing,
Right.
who plays, Samantha White or Sam White, right? And this was also one of the first instances of seeing, Tyler James Williams, right? Who you would know from Everybody Hates Chris, right? You just know him from that TV show, but you didn't really see him in anything else outside of that, right? And he plays the character of Lionel Higgins, right? Who both characters also appear in this series here. Of course, they played by different people, right? Um, but really what the show does, right, in the vein of, like a Spike Lee joint, and the one I'm going to bring up here now, it's funny, right, because this is a film that I felt like, this season here is paying a lot of tribute to School Days from 1988, right, which is,
Right.
it's these African Americans in this college, right, and it's, a slice of life, seeing the day to day and all that kind of stuff, but they also deal with race, right, and black identity and what it really means to be black, right? So, it's shadism, it's systemic racism, it's all
Right.
these things that, even sexuality, right, and gender politics and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
They touch on all these things here in this series here, right? Last thing I'll just say before we get to your synopsis, I did find the previous season to be sort of underwhelming, right? Reason being
Right.
is because they were building up to this whole thing about, oh well, there's this sort of Illuminati-esque organization called the Order of X, and when you actually see who it is, like, okay, well, that's it, right? But I just felt like all the other, like, other stories that were going on in arcs kind of just didn't really go anywhere. They were just kind of run through the motions, basically, with everyone, well, with a majority of the main characters, I must say, right? And so like that season is kind of wrapped. I was just like, all right, well, we get another one. Okay, cool, right? So in my head, I told you we were gonna get this in 2020, right? But well, surprisingly, we didn't, right? And it kind of like, in this season here, they kind of suddenly see why, right? It's because of, well, what happened last year with, Black Lives Matter,
Right.
George Floyd, all that stuff, right? So similar to, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the final season, which I covered in the last episode, yeah, this was another show that had to take a hiatus because of what happened last year, right? And you could see how it impacts, the direction of this final season here. So yeah, Ricardo, take it away in a nutshell. What was this final season about?
Right. So this season is, well, as you mentioned, it's uh deciding to do interesting take on the matter because, well, first thing to mess it to focus on, which I didn't hate, but it's a musical. Well, a lot of musicality in it for this
Mhm.
like final
Yes.
sequence, which was okay, interesting call.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll share my thoughts on that, but go on.
right. It does focus on how to describe this one. It feels like, well, the whole quote unquote, well, I hate this kind of terminology, but blackness in white spaces. That's what it feels like. Like a lot of it was okay. It's trying to do the post-racial thing, but like it doesn't address all of these ideas, and um, yeah, they just address, like as I say with the Brooklyn Nine-Nine thing. It addresses, well, how to deal with this, last at of blackness, but then catering to black positivity through music, and they're going back and forth on that. And I felt it wasn't the best call. I didn't hate it because it did a lot of cool nostalgia, like we get Jamiroquai reference and thing, but I didn't care for it because it kind of undermined itself with a lot of that music, you know. So that's how I felt about that. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I could agree with you for the most part, right? So, just to touch on the music, right? Because I remember seeing the trailer for this, and they were saying that where it's gonna be like a musical, right?
Right.
And I was like, what? You know
Right.
what I mean?
It's very, it's an
It's just kind
interesting
of a weird
it's an
direction.
interesting call, right? It's an interesting
Mm-hmm.
call. I don't like from a purely creative standpoint. I it's not the worst idea, to be honest, right? But given what they're trying to deal with and what they're trying to go for, I don't know. It was just not it don't mix well, even though it's not the worst call. But whatever,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's the thing, right? So
Right,
so respect where respect is due, right? I do appreciate the effort of making this season, different, right?
right,
Style wise, I guess, right? So I guess that's why they did this, right? Just to be different, right? Um, and maybe I guess to make up for how underwhelming the last season was, right? And flat out forgettable in my opinion, right?
right,
But the issue I had though is that okay, so it centers on this particular show, this particular musical number, sorry, not number, this musical performance that takes place in the school, right?
right,
But the big controversy is that it's set in this hall which is named by a slave owner, right? And
right,
there's there haven't been any effort at all over the years to change that, right? But there's one particular girl, a new character by the name of Aisha, who she's like trying to do all these protests and stuff like that, and funny enough now she becomes an antagonist now to Samantha. And it's funny though because they both, it's basically like Aisha is like a younger version. She is a younger version of Samantha, right? They do
right. So what?
have these
Yeah,
pro-black
what?
beliefs, and you're gonna fight, like really, really fight now. What even if it means just kind of pushing white people aside, and it's like black pride.
Right.
Right? I mean that's how they
But
move.
okay, so that was a pretty interesting dynamic because it gets into the whole. This is something that happens at a lot of, for lack of a better term, progressive movements or whatever it is. People trying to quote unquote outwork each other, and then the young upstart will come in and then act as if, well, the older person didn't do enough effort or something like that. No, and you get a lot of, and I thought that was a pretty interesting dynamic to bring in that internalized fighting in these little spaces. No, but I like that. It at least lent to that premise. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And where it leads off to, I could accept though, but I just felt they could have done a lot more with it though. And just to get back to the music, right? So like I just at times it works, but at times it really like falls flat. And this is where
Right,
every episode has at least one song. Now at
right,
first I thought that it was going to be, like probably it might just have like an original song and a song from like the 90s, right? Because they hacken into 90s nostalgia, right? So we talk
right.
about
It
hip
did,
hop,
yeah, yeah. It did a
R&B,
lot
but
of that.
more emphasis on R&B, right? So
Right,
but when they lean on the old songs now, it just kind of feels a little shoehorn at times. Like it's not like say School Days, for example, which honestly I haven't seen in a long while. So forgive me if I get this wrong, right? Where the songs themselves, yes, the original songs, right, but they do feel like they were part of the story, right? For better or for worse, right? You know what I
right,
mean? If I
right,
watch
right.
it again, I can argue, well, maybe that song don't fit or whatever it is. But it's a musical, and I get what Spike was trying to do, right? So yeah,
Yeah,
whatever, right? But here it's just like, okay, well, we kind of have to have a song here, so let it be this song. And at
right,
times, the choices of song work. So, like, case in point, Aisha does She's a Bitch from Missy Elliott with a dog.
right, right.
But, and you could tell it's actually her singing it. Like, I assume it's her singing it because she does it, she performs it a little different. But then there's oftentimes, where you can kind of watch the screen and know, yeah, the motherfucker's lip singing.
Right,
But
whatever. I mean, that'll
I
bother me.
understand
It's
the
like
vibe
whatever.
of it, but
Yeah,
I
exactly.
just kind of watch it like, you're lip singing that shit, man. Like, come on, bro.
Right.
Uh, and if it's not just that, though, it's just the songs themselves. Just like, well, all right, well, but why this song? They're like, I mean, I know these songs are bop like back then, but why this song? Like, so point is, before I shut up, you think like these songs themselves. Let me just say, like, if you make a soundtrack out of this, right? I thought like the song's supposed to serve the story, like it's supposed to serve the purpose of what the scene or what the story is.
Right,
But just kind of
right.
felt at times like, no, we just kind of threw in a song just because, not
Well,
not knocking these songs, but just some of them are
yeah,
just like, well,
I,
yeah, we just need a song, so throw this one. Everybody
yeah,
knows the song, right? So yeah. hold
Yeah,
that.
no, some of it felt a little thematic. Like I kind of get what he was going for with it, but yeah, it's one of those. It feel like when people is just putting a song just as a vague allusion to what going on. It's a little too vague as
Yes.
an allusion. But so I didn't get into it in that sense. But yeah, I could understand why where you're coming from with that. It doesn't really work all that well.
Yeah, and what I would have preferred though was where it was about the performance itself. Sorry, right? There was
Right,
one moment, well, maybe there was a few moments, but one in particular where I felt the choice of music worked perfectly, right? And this is with Lionel's, well, on again off again boyfriend Michael, where
right,
he does this performance of with his boy Color Me Bad, I Want to Sex You Up, and then he goes into Heat Me Now from Nas, right?
right,
There's this little subplot involving the removal of that now because what we learn is that, well, he was a former sex worker and, well, a
right,
friend of his who is also queer and a sex worker as well got abused, right? So
right,
he's kind of, he basically just kind of want to draw attention on that, that crowd now
right.
through this performance. So that
So
particular sequence I thought worked in terms of, oh, well,
right,
this is the song adding to what's going on instead of, hey,
okay.
let's just throw in a song because it sounds good and people love it, right? I love that.
So this lends to something that I was always thinking about with oh gosh, a lot of black shows suffer from this problem where they don't have time to say every black problem, so they end up kind of stuffing every black problem in one space, and it really doesn't work in this. Even though this had the same problem, it's another show that had this problem. I remember the last season of Soul Food, right? They had
Oh
a bunch of
wow,
good,
I had to go back to that one.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I used to watch the show. I used to watch it.
But I just come to my mind of how much of a problem, how to me was an issue with that, because like it's a good idea, but you can't fit it in this. Like it's a good idea, but
Yeah,
you can't fit it in this. And this had a lot of that. Like it, but in this case, I don't think that specific problem was a big. I don't think that was a specific problem for this. I thought that was fine, but it had a
right.
bunch of other ideas. I was like, oh wow, well, they could have really do more with this too. But I get you didn't have time or you didn't have thing, and then you have to factor in the pandemic or whatever it is, right? Um, that's
Yeah,
all.
that is true. And I'll say that that is probably one of the that is the major flaw of the season here is that
Yeah,
they are saying they're trying to see a lot though. They're
yeah,
trying to get a lot out in this though, but it does feel at times like, well, it's the final season, so what we would have talked about if we could have just gone on for one more, we kind of had that stuff together into this one show, right? So there's like a lot of subplots, and there's time spent on these subplots, like a case in point, one involving Reggie, right?
right,
And his I'll just pull up her name quickly. And and his girlfriend Joel, right? So
right,
there's a they actually both have subplots as well too, right? But Reggie's one, was going away, and then something happens which is not gonna spoil, and then you're just like, what? Okay, we go
yeah,
in here. All right,
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
interesting.
right,
But then there's something else that goes on in the background which I don't want to spoil. But that one I felt was like a letdown too because of how they built it up. That's all we'll see.
right, right,
But payoff wise, I get why because of all we just say without spoiling. It has to do with Reggie's PTSD off of what happened at the end of season one. That's all we'll see, right? But I just felt like it could have had a bigger payoff, right? So not
yeah,
saying because it's the final season they have to go totally dark, but the lead up to it did have me like, oh shit, we're going to go there, like gonna be really dark though, and then it just kind
right,
of happens like, no, not really, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
yeah, you're right though, they really do a lot though, but at times they work and sometimes they don't though, but I just felt like
right.
they could have just kind of sat down and maybe just removed a couple of things or
That was the
instead of just
problem, is
adding
that
a lot.
you don't want to leave out something, but you realize you kind of had to cut something, and you're not sure why. If you want to fight that down or not. So yeah, I understand why you want to keep it, but yeah, they probably would have had to cut it, and it's just a hard call. So
Yeah,
they're just keeping it and stuffing it down and end up messing it up. I don't know. Yeah, there's
yeah,
a lot of behind the scenes stuff that you're not taking into account.
exactly. But
Yeah,
there's
good.
few more things before I get to Rita, right?
Sure.
Like one in particular involving Miguel Coco, right, who is played once again by Antoinette Robertson, right? If you're familiar with this series, there's always that weird reality show that they always sit in the campus hall and sit and watch. In this one, they actually decided to make that like a major subplot in the series in this season here.
Yeah.
And like I get what they're trying to say message wise though, but I just felt like payoff wise, it's just like, well, okay, well that kind of happened, right? So that's the thing with me with this too. There was a lot of like subplots too, and you think they're gonna kind of pay off well enough, but they kind of don't. They just kind of stop where they are. They even do this interesting. Well, because of course they have to acknowledge 2020. You have to acknowledge COVID, right? So they have this narrative device with our main characters in the future, right? And oh my gosh, like like I know we're not supposed to pay attention to the makeup though, but
Yeah.
Deron Horton who plays Lionel though, that fake goatee.
Yeah. Well, they do.
I
But
mean, come
it
on,
was
man,
kind of
come
it
on.
was kind of remember that episode of Princess Caroline when she's thinking about a potential future grandchild of herself or something like that.
Oh yes, 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 I remember
That
that.
was, I felt like that. Like,
Yeah.
I thought that was okay. It's a clever idea. Just BoJack Horseman did it. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, but at least the show doesn't like stop to zero in on it at least. But still, you just kind of watch it like, okay, right?
Mhm.
And you kind of understand why they basically split up the our main characters. That's all you'll see, right? But they come back because of a reason or reasons. That's all you'll see as well. Really
Yeah.
don't want to give up too much, right? But for the most part, it does lead to actually like really heartfelt moment in the end. Because I mean,
Right.
again, this is the last time we're gonna see these characters. So what they did there was really really nice and heartfelt, man. I must say, right?
Right.
So last thing last now, again, I mean the acting across the board is great too. I mean look from Logan Browning all the way down to Marky Richardson who plays Reggie. I mean everybody do their things, right? And what I really do like about this show here is how multifaceted they all are, right? So you don't have to agree with what a character says or agrees on. Like like say what you want about Samantha and how passionate she is about her dreams and all that kind of stuff. I I could be wrong about this. You all could disagree, whatever. But I find personally she goes a little too hard on Gabe. That's her on again off again boyfriend. Like I
Right.
find she just go like unnaturally hard on this guy, Dread, and all the guy just wanted to do, like especially with the subplot involving him, the man just want to get by, Dread, and your attitude as well, white privilege, so you should have it much better than me, and all that
Right.
kind of stuff,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. Right.
I know for some people that will like real piss them off, like Sam, why are we still doing this? Why are we still having this conversation? Because I swear this was the same conversation that they had from since season 2. That same black, that same white privilege shit. You know what I mean? But it's the character and it's where they are right now, right? It's not like the characters haven't changed, right? But it's like, all right, I get, I do agree with you, but again, okay, right? That's how it is. You just kind of love them and hate them for what they are, but at the end of the day, they're still human, right? So that's what I talk about the show here. And for what's worth, I really do applaud how they touch on these issues, right? Just social issues though, but they do it in such a unique and oftentimes provocative way, right? Like really really lean on provocative though, I must say, with the series here. So I mean, I applaud them for that though. But as this is the final season though, I just felt like there was just a lot going on though. It was just all over the place at times though. And what really makes it watchable is just the leads themselves and how
Right.
charismatic they are on screen. Because they have a lot of on screen, personality, that kind of stuff too.
Right. Right.
But I just felt like the music stuff could have just been executed a lot better instead of just like, oh yeah, well remember this song? Yeah, we're gonna throw in this song here. It just felt like the music stuff was just like, hey, let me just do
Uh,
something a little bit different. So let me try
yeah.
this. But they could
I'm
have put
still.
more thought into it now.
It's a questionable call, right? I think that's the main problem. It's not that it's a bad call per se, but if it's one of those things you have to sit down and think out. And I think they didn't really think it out, to be honest.
Yeah, agreed. So some performances kind of come off a little awkward and shoehorn, and others is just like, this actually makes sense and it works, and you could tell is the person actually singing it and not lip singing, right? But that's just me. So rating wise, as far as this season goes, I'll give this a light 3.5 out of 5, man. It's worth watching. It didn't really end off the series on a strong note as I expected, though, as I was anticipating. Sorry, though, but I mean, for what it's worth, it's the last time you're gonna see these characters, so they really swung for the fences for this one, though.
Right.
And I can't fault them for that at the end of the day, right? So,
Yeah.
not the strongest way to end the series off though, but it was a woody conclusion. And I would
Right.
just say in closing, as far as the series go, the series as a whole, I will give that a light 4 to 5 though. I will say that it is worth checking out. Some people may not like its overly woke approach to its subject matter and whatnot, but
Right.
I mean, if you're familiar with stuff from Spike Lee, then yeah, and if you're familiar with the movie itself, yeah, you kind of get what you get. You kind of get what you paid for, basically, with it, right?
Right.
So I know stuff like this would be for everyone, though. But I would say if you're curious, if you think this is gonna be your thing, then yeah, give it a look, man. I do recommend checking out the full series. So
Right.
yeah, final thoughts, rating on the season, and just final thoughts on the
Right. So
whole series.
right. So I I wasn't too disappointed with this ending. Again, it was a strange call, and it's a call I want to make, to be honest. But I give it a bly, as they say, right? Um, what the problem is with a lot of with shows like this is that it suffers from that. Again, it's a soul food problem for me, and I could imagine a lot of fans was hating on it, right? A lot of fans was hating on this final season, saying they're not going to watch it, and the boycott, blah blah blah, and blah blah blah. And I was like, nah, you kind of just give it a working chance for what it's trying to do. I just was saying, no, just do what you gotta do and tell the story you're trying to tell, and I couldn't be mad at any of that, to be honest. But yeah, I didn't hate this. But it is a little bit of a letdown compared to where it was trying to go for originally. I think the problem with shows like this is that because yeah, is what you want to talk about and how to evolve it. And to me, after season two, it was super difficult to evolve the show, right? In my opinion, that's how I feel about it. It was like, wait, where you gonna go after this? And if you're not gonna talk about this, what are you gonna do? And after the last season, I thought was a big, not a big letdown, but it was a mess, like kind of just not really working for that simple
Yeah,
reason,
yeah.
right?
Mm.
It just could not really address its central conceit more than you could do it as it is. And I really felt it should have done that. It is surprisingly also a little how to put it? Um I want to say negative. Just a kind of a downer kind of finale, to be honest. Um but it was still fine. Yeah, I couldn't be mad at any of it, but it was still fine. Yeah, that's how I feel about it mostly. Um, that's it. It's not bad, not the worst thing ever. Just kind of a letdown, to be honest. Right? That's about it.
Yeah. Well, what would you rate
Um, yeah,
the
I'll give
season?
it. I'll give it a higher rating than I expected, which is I'll give it a still give it a 6 out of 10. Because it was one of those creative decisions I wouldn't make, but I do appreciate that you didn't make it. Right, so that's how I feel about it, right?
All right, and the show as a whole, what would you give it? Like,
Yeah, show
how
as
would
a
you recommend it?
whole, show as a whole, this final, the last 2 seasons really affected it. But a show as a whole, I'll probably give it like a 7 out of 10, if anything. The last, I really enjoyed the first season. Right, really like the first season for this. I love the
Yeah, yeah,
movie.
first season is fantastic in my
Right,
opinion. Yeah,
and I like the movie. And then I didn't. The second season was not as good as the first, but still solid. And then the last 2 seasons just didn't work for me. So that's about it.
yeah,
Yeah. So that's it.
right. Well, last thing last though, I'm hearing through the grapevine that there's a possibility of spin-offs.
Uh,
I don't know how. I mean, just see some new students in Winchester and whatnot. Let's see
it's
what they get into. Maybe Zurin
here's
and
the thing.
Aisha, she could be the new
Right.
Sam White. Seeing what happens to the Dear White People podcast, as I will say.
Right.
But maybe they could kind of touch on what Gen Z is going through right now.
That's the thing. You
Well,
have to
what'll be
tell.
cool is if they touch on what's going on in the 2020s, because
That's the thing. You
remember
have to.
what made the series itself work was, yeah, it's late 2010 stuff. You know what I mean? That
Right.
we would deal with.
Yeah. Again, the problem is that how to evolve the argument now, what it is that people going for with this, and how to make it an important argument whilst having a particular issues, and how to spell it for what it is. That's why it worked originally, because of when it first came out, and then it didn't evolve particularly well. So I don't know. So it's up to you.
Right, right. So staying with sticking sorry with Netflix one more time. The kind folks at Netflix actually held their first global fan event, right? Which is called TUDUM. TUDUM, sorry. TUDUM.
Yeah.
TUDUM.
Right.
This was announced actually. Well, I saw the announcement for this. I believe it was last Wednesday or Tuesday times recording here, and I just kind of saw like, all right, TUDUM, that's what they call it, right? But literally, Ricardo, I just out of curiosity just decided to check it out, right? But I checked it out for one specific reason, which I'll get into in a minute, right? Is as it began, that's when I click what that's why it's called TUDUM. 'Cause, yeah, it's the sound effect that when you
Right.
see that
It just
Netflix
yeah.
logo, like I'm like, wow, but like I
Yeah,
can't
that's
believe I didn't even realize that till
it is
the day itself.
it is onomatopoeia, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
onomatopoeia.
Right.
Onomatopoeia, yeah.
Right.
Right. So yeah, what really it is just, well, this roughly 3 hour fan event. So it's similar to Fandom, where this Netflix just bragging and flexing their muscles, showing off all the cool stuff that they gonna put out for the end of for the rest of the year into 2022, right? So I'm not gonna run through everything, what I mean, but just the stuff that I took notice of, right? So case in point, new teaser trailer for the final season of Stranger Things.
Right.
Really dug it as well too. It what I'll just say quickly is that it has a bit of an American Horror Story vibe to it because deal with a haunted house. You know what I mean? And this is it's quite interesting too. But it's of course leading into the whole world of the Upside Down, right? As you see in the
Right.
teaser. So I mean, it doesn't really show much. I thought we would have seen 11, but we don't. But she does actually show up in the fan event as well too, in person. Millie Bobby Brown to promote Enola Holmes 2, or at least they're saying that they going to film it, right? You even
Right.
see Henry Cavill talking about it, right?
Well,
And I don't
that's
know,
the
it was
cool
just
thing
kind of
is that
funny. Like,
she kinda get big now.
yeah, yeah, she got big with that film,
And
huh?
with right, especially right. As I say with the Nola Holmes, like, yeah, how you gonna do both? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it was kind of funny too because everybody's like, Millie, we want Millie, like in the group, sorry, in the chat, at the site, because I watched this on YouTube, right? It was on YouTube, and everybody was like, Millie, we want Millie, Millie, Millie. I'm like, what? Just come, slowly roll down. She come in, right? And speaking of Stranger Things, well, Finn Wolfhard and Keelan McCullen, who star in that show, they appear as well too. They came in the second hour.
Right.
Lily Singh was in the first hour, but honestly, I didn't get around to watching the first hour because I was busy, right? But yeah, on hour two onwards is why I checked out because that was the one I was most interested in, right? There was the big one was one of the big highlights is we get to see a teaser for the Sandman,
Okay.
and
Right. I
as
heard right.
someone who
I didn't watch this, but I heard
yeah
I saw some clicks. I sure made the effort to
yeah
see it.
and as someone who still have to read the book,
Right.
I know. It's one of those books you have to read before you die, right? Like
Yeah.
honestly, I
I
still
don't
wrestle
love it as much
between
as other people,
reading the
but
book
it is good.
or listen to the audiobook because I have both right now. I feel like I should read the comic because it's Neil Gaiman now, but still, what? Yeah, you're saying you don't have to. Sorry.
No, no, I'm one of those who don't love it as much as other people do. But it's
Okay.
like, yeah, it's you have to read it just uh, 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 to enjoy, to see it. But
Right.
I would say underwhelming. But I was expected to be really wowed by it, and I wasn't really wowed by it. It's just it was good, it's pretty good.
Okay, I thought it was like some sort of like life-changing event. Like if you
Nah,
read it, it would change. Like
well,
this make it out to be like like the the Watchmen of fantasy. Like, oh, this
well,
is
yeah,
so groundbreaking and stuff like that. Like when I see it, my mind is gonna be blown like instantly. I expect to enjoy it, but I don't think it's gonna be as awe-inspiring as people is claim it is.
yeah, okay. So for me, I read it a little too late, to be honest. So by then I was like, all right, I saw so many concepts and ideas like it. I was like, okay, I'm not that blown away by it, to be honest. But yeah, it's still it's good. It's great, in fact. Yeah, go
Right,
ahead.
but but
Hmm.
but the teaser looks interesting. I did not expect
Right,
to see Charles Dance from Game
right.
of Thrones in this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
boy.
like, all right, you
Yeah,
in this too? Okay, okay, okay,
yeah.
okay. Looks good, cool. I don't have time to actually like read the book because I don't want to go into this one blind at all, right?
Right,
The anime stuff look pretty cool. You see a clip for a show called Super Crooks.
okay,
What caught me though is that it's written from a boy, Mark Miller. It's like,
right,
what? Okay, but he got this Japanese anime director to basically do it, and it looks really dope. It looks really dope. Ultraman. I have not
right,
watched Ultraman on Netflix, so I will. I will check it out. I'll check it out. I'll check it out. Um, Bright Samurai Soul, which actually is
right.
a spin-off
This,
of
yeah,
one of my pick for one of the worst movies of 2019, and that would be no, sorry, not either 2019 or 2017. I think it was. I think it's 2017. That would be Bright. I
Yeah,
hated that film, but
yeah.
I'm curious to see the world of Bright
Well, that's
in
the thing.
this samurai setting there.
I was so surprised myself seeing this, um, because I was digging it. Because it's thinking Bright. Bright have real potential,
Yeah, but they waste
but
that. That's why I hated it.
completely
But
wasted.
they
So
waste it.
I
Yeah,
want to see somebody sit down with it. It's kind of like what the Purge is in the movies. Like the Purge really work all that well, but like you wish they had a full series for it, just to see
and they
somebody.
do, but I do even
No,
think it works in the series. You know.
I know anime like a proper like somebody really sit
Oh,
down and think it out.
right.
Um, so that is about it. But yeah, it was weird seeing this guy anime. It's like, what? This some anime? All right, let's see what you're gonna do. I'll give it a chance.
Yeah, and it's coming out next month, man. I think around the time of DC Fandom. So yeah, I'll be checking that one out for sure, man. Speaking of which, we also have Cobra Kai. We got the first teaser for season 4, which is coming out December 31st. And now that I am on now that I've successfully caught up with the series, I'm excited for this one though. There was a little sketch with some of the cast members that was just kind of played for laughs. It's like, all right, well, this idea of, well, the VHS tape that they the VHS tape has the teaser. Okay, remember, it's ET's throwback stuff, right? But yeah, I mean, from what I've seen here with Cobra Kai, is like, yeah, I'm excited, man. If you haven't jumped on board, you should see that it actually like lives up to the hype, though. And I really enjoyed season 3 and where it ended in particular. So yeah, can't
Right.
wait. Also Thor, as in Chris Hemsworth, show up to say, yeah, we have an extraction too because my character didn't die. And I was like, all right, well, we saw he got shot and fall off a bridge. Okay. So there's this little teaser where you literally see him in the water, like right after he falls off during the shootout near the end,
Yeah.
and his eyes open up because the camera zooms in on him, right? I was like, okay, he's alive. Yay. All right, cool.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
No, sorry. I mean, extraction was fine, but I wasn't blown away by it.
Right.
The long take was great, right? But other than that, it
Yeah,
was
that's
just
about it.
generic
Yeah.
shoot 'em up stuff. You know what I mean? In
Right.
foreign country, that was what it was, right? A couple of days ago, oh sorry, a few days before TUDUM, they actually announced that they were going to release, a series of true crime documentaries over the next few months, right, into 2022, right? And one of the big bombshells it dropped was Tiger King 2.
Okay.
So we finally got the release date for
I
it.
have
It
no idea where they
is,
go with this.
yeah, November the 17th. So yeah, yeah, you're right. I really don't know where they're gonna go with this. Like, I think where the story, the first miniseries, right, which I absolutely love, one of my favorite TV shows of 2020, hands down, right? It had a story, like it had a beginning, middle, and end. So I thought,
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's the end of the story, right?
No,
But
yes, take I
apparently they
really
have more
thought.
to show.
Yeah, I really thought that what do you call it? That I really thought this might have happened because he was so popular. I thought um he would have gotten pardoned by Donald Trump. Like I really
Me
was
too.
expecting that shit to happen. It would have been hilarious. But like let's be clear, Joe is a piece of trash. I'm not gonna I
Oh
defended Joe.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like everybody loved the drama, even though it's some real toxic bullshit we push it. So like a Tiger King 2 is like, how the hell they gonna tell this story? They're not gonna tell the guild story. They're not gonna tell other people's stories. So I was like, what are they going to do? Um however, I
Yeah,
just
and
want to see.
I hope it's not like, oh well, this was stuff that didn't make it to the final cut, and we're
Nah,
gonna
right. Yeah, I
no,
really would hate if they
no,
do.
no, no, don't do that, please. Don't
Yeah,
do that, Netflix. Please don't.
right.
But the reason why I checked this out in the first place, though, was to see. Well, I didn't even know what it was, but they were going to touch on, well, Cowboy Bebop, right? Which is,
Right.
the Netflix live action adaptation to one of the most beloved and one of my all-time favorite anime series of the same name, right? So I just thought, like, okay, we're just gonna have like a little behind the scenes stuff, like a little panel thing maybe, and then you'll just see like a clip, like just a little clip now. But I didn't expect that, for one thing, John Cho just came out, to kind of talk a little bit, and then they just drop the opening title sequence, right?
Yeah.
So quick thoughts on that sequence, right? Now, on the one hand, I could just look at it like, oh, this is like a nice little fan made thing, you know what I mean? Oh, you just kind of recreate the visuals, but it's your face, whatever it is, though. But at the
Right.
same time, I was just blown away at how faithful it looked. Not
Right.
how
I'll
exact
say
it looked. That's
Yeah,
like
I'll say it.
faithful. It's
Yeah.
the
So
visual tone.
I do think this is a case of understanding the assignment, right? As the kids see.
Yes,
But
yes, yes.
the only thing they should have made a better effort at doing is when the characters were like moving about. Like I felt they could have done like when the characters were running, you know.
Oh yeah, like especially yeah, like when Jet was running in particular.
Right.
Yeah,
I really felt
it kind of weird looked at that, and even with Spike, right, played
yeah,
by John when he did the sort of flip kick thing, right?
yeah.
Remember? Yeah.
Yeah, I really felt they could have do more with it as it is. They could have spent a little more effort in that way. But I dug it for what it was. Like I was really enjoying this
Me
thing.
too, boy.
They just straight up recreated. Straight up
Yes,
recreated.
they did. But
Yes, that I don't have
yeah,
a
but
problem with
what
that
it
at
did
all.
what yeah, but what it did very very well though, which I do applaud though, is that they include scenes from the show itself, so it
Right.
doesn't like totally just recreate stills or
No,
bits
right.
of animation
So
from
the thing
that
is,
opening sequence for the original show. Now,
yeah,
they add their own little thing into it.
the thing is that the one of the aesthetics of the show, why the show works so well, is that um why the show works so well is that because it had a lot of like, decent slice of life stories. So all they have to do is just do that. Don't try to copy the original. Just tell your own story as a movie and make that work. Tell an original story, but tell it in the same vein as if it could be in this world, and I think they'll be good, right? One of the, like okay, I have been on record, and I know I get a little bit of drag for it, but I've been on record in defending the Netflix Death Note, right, for the same
Yeah,
reason, which is
hated that note, but
right,
I saw what they were going for in terms of
right. Well,
we
my
telling this particularly dark story, but in
yeah,
a true American lens now.
right, but I didn't hate that idea. It's just it needed more time. Like it just if to me if that was 10 episodes, I believe it would have been received a little better. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, well, we got like what, an hour and a half
Yeah, exactly,
movie
one
out of
movie.
this. Why?
Yeah, you can't tell that story. That's the problem. I didn't think it was that bad, and I really feel they should do the same with this. Right, just tell is what where Cowboy Bebop works is that it have a linear narrative. Yes, there's serialization, but they also had nice little slice of life stuff like little
Yes.
individual episodes that really worked and make it work. And I dug it for what it was, and they could do that. Yeah, and I can't be mad at any of that. But I'm the kind of person that's fall for this bullshit. You copy the anime opening and you do it kind of like
Yeah,
that.
and you got the theme song, you got Tank,
Right.
and it. Oh, by the way, it still slaps though. Like while I was watching this, I was getting chills at how much I love this song, especially them horns. Boy, oh my god,
Yeah,
just hearing it,
but
it just took me back to
they
watching the series.
they just do the one thing that I like about it, which is okay, so they recast one of the characters as black, but I did like yeah that would make a lot of sense, and they seem to have a lot of black people in this because of all the jazz stuff. Like
Yeah.
it was kind of weird in the original, right? Like yeah, all this jazz stuff and no black people in it, right? Like
Right, and I remember
I'm
like
glad that they
there
do
was this
that.
one black guy who was like doing karate or yeah,
Right,
he was this martial artist. He was a Jim Kelly wannabe in there, and they
right,
actually
right.
show him in this. I'm like, what? Okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, nice.
I really hope like again they getting the aesthetic right, but the aesthetic is not enough. You need to give us something. But I so far I'm somewhat excited for this to be honest. So I
Same here.
wrote this off. I completely wrote this off. Look, I like John Cho, but I completely wrote it off. I was like, all right, this is gonna be bullshit. When I saw the pictures, like, the pictures looking okay, but like I'm not really that impressed with any of it. But I really hope we get if they do what Death Note did, but more in vein of why Death Note worked, the original, right? So that's how I feel about it. I don't.
Yeah, yeah. But just to wrap things up though, yeah, I was actually like thoroughly impressed by this though. But really what made it work for me now was not so much the recreations and stuff like that and how they do it stylistically, but adding actual scenes from the show, which, if you're familiar with the series, you should remember. I honestly haven't watched the show in a long while though. So, I just saw bits and pieces like, okay, I remember this person, I remember that person, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you actually see Ein, the dog, is like, well, they actually
right.
have like a little segment afterwards where they actually show the dogs like, oh yeah, looks like Ein. Ein look a cute man. Um, I'm not sure. Oh, sorry. I'm not sure if we're going to see Edward
Right.
at
So that's the
all,
one
right?
character that had a comeback, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if the reason is being how quote unquote gender fluid the character is, but
Well,
I
I don't
don't
know.
think that should be a problem anyway. But because okay, like as a animated character, Edward works,
Yeah.
but I don't know how it will come off in live action, to be honest. So if the people behind the scenes think that they'll just look all weird and stupid, yeah, I would say leave it out. But for all we know, we might get a second trailer where, oh shit, he's in it or
Right.
she's in it, right, or whatever it is, right? But yeah, totally impressed by this trailer, dude. Just
Yeah, I
hearing the
like it.
song again was
I
like,
all I'll say
wow,
is that I
wow,
just fall for this kind of bullshit. That's all I'll say. I like this
yeah.
bullshit. Like I know a lot of people not really feeling it, whatever. I dig it.
Yeah. Well, what, on the subject of that, and then we can move on. Actually want to see because I watched like a couple of reactions on YouTube, and they were just like overjoyed the people who watched it though.
Right.
But I'm curious to see people who actually like hate it, just kind of watch it like, you're not really doing anything. You just recreated this look like I was saying before. This looks like a fan film. You know what I mean? So I want to see objections, like people who probably thought it was it shaped it up to be a failure, whatever it is. I'm really curious to see the flip
Right.
side to the reception. Couple more things. Well, we're getting a new Witcher series. Well, sorry, season. Sorry. Still have to catch up on Witcher, but I still have time. We're getting a new show from the people behind Big Mouth, called Inside Job. I think the concept of that is great because it touches on the so-called Illuminati, right? This underground corporation that controls the world. So you just kind of see it in this The Office like scenario, right? You should check the trailer out.
Right.
It's hilarious,
Okay.
right?
So right,
Um,
right. So they play in the office by the Illuminati and they playing with that joke.
yes,
Right.
exactly.
Well, it's kind of like
Great concept.
MIB. MIB had that thing in the 80s.
Oh
Okay,
yes,
that's a
yes, yes.
clever idea. I like
Yeah,
that.
it is. Yeah.
Right.
Army of Thieves actually looks really, really promising though. This
Yes.
is a prequel to, Army of the Dead from Zack Snyder, right? I'm glad to see McGill, Natalie, Emmanuel in it as well too. There's
Right.
even
Right.
a little panel where, she talk about, hey, I do my little fighting and thing too. So I was like, what, Because, three Fast and Furious movies in, yeah, you had to get into the dirt, man. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that she hands dirty. So yeah, she gonna be doing some fighting and kicking ass and whatnot. There's like a little scene, the show clip of her doing it. It's like, what? Okay, Natalie, do your thing, do your thing.
Right. Right.
But the trailer looks very, very, very promising though. They got the same German guy to be involved. It centers on him. So this
Right.
job that he does, where basically he has to break into this, ultra safe or whatever it is, right? What I like about this film here is that it's set in the early stages of the zombie apocalypse now. So I'm curious to see how they will rope that into the story. It can't just be, oh well, meanwhile in the United States, there's a zombie apocalypse, but in
Right.
Europe, everything is all fine and we could just go and break into this bank and do all this kind of stuff there. But I have a feeling they're gonna work in that zombie angle into it. I'm really curious to see how they do that, right? And last but not least, just to round things up, a show that I am actually really excited to see. This is Adam McKay's newest feature, Don't Look Up. Reason being is because of the cast, way, because this guy
Right.
gets some heavy hitters in this way. You get Jennifer Lawrence, you get Leonardo DiCaprio. So yeah, this is the first time you're gonna see the two of them in a Netflix film. You know what I mean? And we get to this on Christmas Eve. So excited for that. And the concept is very dark. It has a very Doctor Strangelove kind of vibe of it, where basically, yeah, meteors is coming, is hurled into Earth, and
Right.
it's just everybody else on the ground, in the White House, is studying what to do. It's just, oh, you know what I mean? So if you're familiar with, like, the Doctor Strangelove film, right? So just all this banter, which is sounds ridiculous and goes nowhere. That's the vibe again from it now. But is the cast and, just the mere fact that it's an Adam McKay movie on Netflix with J-Lo, sorry, and Leo is just like mind blowing to me, man. I don't know if you saw any promo material for it at all, or if you're excited for it at all, or if you have anything to say on that film.
No. Yeah. I didn't see the trailer for it, so I shall make the effort. Sorry about that.
Okay, okay. Well. You should check it out. It's really good. Particularly, well, both don't really give away too much though. The second one actually, well, the one that came out the Saturday, actually is like this extended scene from the film. I could tell they probably cut stuff out for time, right? But just that concept is that concept works for me. So I'm just curious to see how Adam is gonna touch on something as dark and apocalyptic as that. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So for what's worth, man. I mean, Netflix come true, man. They really show that they are forced to be reckoned with as far as content goes.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's other stuff that we didn't mention as well too. You'd be like, there's like this South African reality series. There's this couple of South Korean thrillers and horror films and whatnot. There's just a lot of stuff. So so if you're just really not feeling to hit the theaters anytime soon, you could see on and watch some new stuff on Netflix, man. They have some good stuff. They have some good stuff, man.